In this mini case, you learn how to create a financial statement for, in this case, our fictional company Northwind. And we'll also cover how to create additional worksheets within a spreadsheet, how to perform calculations across worksheets in Excel, to produce an annual statement by summing the data in the quarterly statements. Finally, we'll cover how to format currency columns. To start, you will need to download two files, namely northwind.jpg and mc2template.xlx, and the Canvas page has links that allows you to download both of them. The first step we're going to do is you've seen I've opened up MC2 template. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to rename it, save as, and I'm going to rename it using your initials. So that's going to be HR in my case, but obviously it's going to be different in your case. So you see it has been renamed now. Well, first, and then we're going to insert the logo. So I'm going to highlight A1 and B1, and then from the alignment group, I will select merge and center. And you see it has now become one cell. We're going to make this cell a little bigger by going to cells, format, and then row height. And we're going to set this to 75. So it's become bigger now. And then we insert a image, picture from file. And you see we'll now insert the Northwind logo. The problem is that it's a little bit too large, but what we can do is just resize it a little bit so that it fits within the cell that we just created. Now, if you mouse over B21, you see there is an instruction there to to create a formula to sum all expenses. And the expenses are in B6 to B20. So I'm going to include a function sum that adds all of the expenses in B6 to B20. I use a range, and that's preferred because if I were to use B6 plus B7 plus B8, and I want to add an additional expense between rows 6 and 20, then I would have to adjust that formula. If I use the range and I, for example, add something on line 13, then this formula will automatically adjust. Okay, so now we have the total expenses. Next one is we need to calculate the net operating profit. As you see, we do that by taking the total income, the net sales in B4, and subtracting the total expenses out of that. So now we have a net operating profit. Next thing to do is calculate taxes, and you see that we assume that the taxes are 21%. So we take the net operating profit and multiply that by 21. And then finally we need to calculate the net profit after taxes. And we do that by taking the net operating profit and then subtracting the taxes from it. Okay, oops, and I need to put equals in front of that to make sure that it's a formula. Okay, so now we have the formulas in one of the sheets. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make copies of that sheet. And the way we do that is we right click on sheet 1 and then do move or copy. We say create a copy and we move that to the end. Do that again. Move to end. It really doesn't really matter where we stick them because we're going to rename them in a minute anyway, but let's just move them to the end to be consistent. Okay, so now we have our 5 sheets, and now we're going to rename them annual, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. So I double click on sheet 1 and type in annual. Then I double click on sheet 2 and type in quarter 1, double click on sheet 3, quarter 2, and so on. Just to make sure, you see that everything we did on annual, or what used to be sheet 1 now is annual, has been repeated on all of the other sheets as well. Now the other thing I want to do is to highlight annual. I right click it and then name the type color and I make it red. Okay, all right. Now what we want to do in annual is sum across the quarterly sheets. So what I'm going to do is click on B4, delete the value in there, then click on FX, right, the formula, select sum, insert function. Then I'm going to click on quarter 1, hold down the shift key, and click on quarter 4. And you see what I now have is quarter 1, quarter 4. I click on B4 again and say done. And now I have a formula in here that sums across the 4 quarterly sheets. I want to copy that formula. So what I'm going to do is highlight B4 again. You see the white cross. And then as I move to the right hand bottom corner, it changes into a black cross. Now I have a fill handle. And now what I can do is just drag the thing down all the way. Okay, let me get rid of the formula builder. And if you look in, for example, B7, you see that the formula in there sums across the 4 quarterly sheets the value in B7. You also see that I have some of these zeros. Well, the reason I have those zeros is that you see that in the quarterly sheets there are no values there. And typically what Excel does, if there are no values, and that's probably the correct thing to do, it assumes that the value is 0. Now we don't want that here, so we're just going to delete those zeros here. Okay. Next step now is to rename these sheets. So this one should say annual income and expense sorry about this. Annual income and expense statement 2021. This one is good. This one needs to change to second quarter. This one needs to change to third quarter. And this one needs to change to fourth quarter. All right. So this all looks fine now. There's 2 formatting changes we want to make, and we're going back to annual. The first one is that we want to highlight B4, B22 and B24 by boldening them. And then the second formatting change is we're going to reformat the currency column. Now we can of course make those changes on all of the sheets separately, but there is a slightly smarter way of doing that. So on highlight annual, shift and then click control quarter 4, and you see that the title of the file changes to indicate that we have grouped these 5 sheets. So see what happens. So I'm going to take net sales and make that bold. Then I'm going to take net operating profit and make that bold as well. And then I make net profit after taxes and I'm going to make that bold as well. If I now go to the other quarterly sheets, you see that that change has happened as well. Okay, so let me group them again. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reformat this currency column. Now, in a currency column, you want to have the currency symbol in front of the top cell, and then any cells that aggregates, totals, averages, etc. The nasty thing is the way you can do that, you have to do that, is you put the currency symbol in front of all of them, and then you have to remove it from those that don't need it. If you don't do it like that, then things are not going to line up properly. So I highlight all of them, and then I select currency here to make these things currencies. Then what I need to do is go to all of them that don't need it, go number, currency, more accounting formats, make sure it's set to currency again, and then I'm going to set this to none. And I need to do this for taxes as well. Okay, so this is how you format a currency column. It's somewhat counterintuitive in that you have to put the currency symbol in front of all of them and then remove it from those that don't need it. And because I grouped the sheets, you'll see I have the same result in the others. And that completes the Minicase.